now. No, I think we're good now. You want me to start while I try to figure out this? Because we're live.
Hey everyone, I think we might still be a little blurry, but Nate is in the background working on it right now. My name is Kirsten McAlpin, and this is
Margaret Keck.
Yes, and we're excited to bring you TyTy takeaways today. I've been on a couple times. I think this is Miss Margaret's first time, but Miss Brandy asked me to do this a few weeks ago, and I was trying to think, music, of course, is a big part of my life, and I really wanted this December TyTy takeaways I was on to have to do with music. And yesterday, of course, you did a great job with the kids, and I wanted to bring you on to kind of talk about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We had a great time with the kids yesterday. Last Sunday night, we were able to sing at the lighting of the tree, and you were too, downtown TyTy.
Yes.
And the children were able to wear costumes and dress up, which is something they love to do. But it's always been, music's always been a big part of my life as well. And I've done children's choirs in schools that I've taught in, and I've also done children's choir in my churches that I've been involved with, among other parts of music. But doing Christmas musicals is such a big part of the celebration of the season for me. And seeing these kids get so excited about portraying the animals, but hearing stories, things that they'll remember, scripture songs outside of the Christmas music, just so that they're hiding that word in their hearts, and they can remember those songs, remember those words, is real important to me, to see that happen. And I think they had a good time last night.
Yeah, I was telling Miss Margaret, I grew up here since an infant here. And there's songs that we did, and that's what makes me, what you're saying is absolutely true, because if Cy or Kayla's out there watching, I remember a song we learned called The Perfect 10 about the 10 Commandments, and I could sing it word for you right now. And that's how I remember the 10 Commandments, is from that song. So what you're doing with the children is such a big thing. And they may not realize it right now at the time, but it really is big.
It helps me to remember.
Yeah.
I learned the books of the Bible that way. Just learning them to music, and I can't remember what I have for lunch some days, but I can remember some of these songs. Yeah. And I hope it'll be something that'll stick with them.
Yeah, and that's the power of music too. Absolutely. I love the importance that our church puts on worship. Just because that is how a lot of people connect, is through music, and you can sing out those words that you may not know how to portray yourself, but music can do that. I think that's really awesome. So if you're watching, you can leave some comments. We can see over here if you want to say anything. But before we really dive into yesterday, we have a lot of announcements. A lot of things happening this week at TyTy. So Miss Margaret's going to kind of quickly go over those, and we'll do it again at the end too.
Okay, this Wednesday night supper is hamburger steak, mashed potatoes with gravy, peas, roll, and dessert. And Miss Amy does a jam-up job. It's always delicious. But if you need to make a reservation, make sure you call the church office. Or text Miss Linda in the church office, and should I give the phone numbers?
Sure.
Okay. The office number is 229-382-6247, and to text Miss Linda is 229-891-6182, and if you miss it live, you can get it when it's on the replay. The Joy Fellowship Christmas Covered Dish Luncheon is this Tuesday, tomorrow, December 10th at 10 a.m. in the social hall. Please come and enjoy the fun and the fellowship, which is always a good time. Please meet at the church this Wednesday, December 11th, and this Thursday, December 12th, for our annual Christmas caroling. I'm coming Wednesday, and I'm bringing my grandson.
Aww.
This is a great way to minister to our homebound members, and we're going to eat lunch afterwards, which is also a great incentive there.
So bring some money for the lunch.
Absolutely, bring money for lunch, and if you want to buy mine, that's good too. And please be at the church by 9:45 a.m. to leave to go to those destinations. The youth holiday hangout, I've been hearing a lot about this at First Baptist, is this Wednesday night. The bus leaves the church at 6 p.m. to go to the First Baptist Church of Tifton, and they'll return about 8:30, and Kirsten will be singing for that as
Yeah,
well, right?
Yeah, I was looking earlier at the list of all the things. There's going to be some activities for the youth to do, and I'm excited that I got asked to be part of the worship team for that, so it'll be
And
fun.
also Joel, who's a student pastor, is going to be also preaching too as part
Yes.
of it too.
That
That'll be
sounds
great.
great.
Mhm.
That sounds really good. TyTy Kids will be visiting Cypress Pond Senior Care on Wednesday, December 11th at the 6 p.m. time. Rather than being here at the church, they'll sing Christmas songs and provide blankets and cookies to the residents, and this will take place on Wednesday evening instead of the kids' classes at the church. Please bring your children to Cypress Pond Care by 6 p.m. to join the fun. And remember, to Cypress Pond Care instead of to the church.
Right.
Let's see. And then we've got the Soul Sisters Christmas party is Saturday, which is always a lot of fun. Beautiful venue. All ladies are invited to the second annual Ladies Ornament Exchange and Brunch, Saturday, December 14th from 10 a.m. until noon at the barn at Pope Farm on Hogan Road, 849 Hogan Road in Sumner. Please bring an ornament to swap and a brunch food to share. And I've heard this is beautifully, beautifully decorated, so it ought to really make a wonderful time to be able to celebrate the Christmas season with our Soul Sisters. Children's Church Choir will sing this Sunday morning, December 15th in the morning service. And I think that is it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Especially this time of year,
Yeah,
there's a lot
of
going
things
on.
going on,
But
absolutely.
that's a good thing to have going on.
Yes, it definitely is.
Something for everybody.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Seniors on the way, all the way down to children.
So yeah, so if you have any questions, you of course can call the church or send us a message or anything like that. Before we really dive into the sermons yesterday, Brother John was talking about Jesus' character and his covenant and his crown, and then of course I was thinking about Christmas music, and Miss Margaret said before we started, it's just not long enough that we get to sing Christmas music.
Right.
It's over and we miss it. But I was reading from the Billy Graham Library. They did 5 inspiring names of Jesus at Christmas, and I just wanted to read these right quick. His name is Wonderful. He was wonderful in his life. He mingled with sinners, yet he was sinless. His enemies could not find one flaw in his character. He was without reproach. Jesus was also wonderful in his death, the fitting climax to his selfless living. He lived for others. He died for others. Jesus is called Counselor. If ever the world needed the counsel of Christ, it does today. Thousands of people everywhere in this world who've accepted Christ have found the solution to their baffling problems. Jesus is called the Mighty God. When the wrongs of the world needed righting and we needed redemption, God did not send his heavenly angelic armies to accomplish his majestic purpose. He sent a tiny, tender, helpless babe in the person of his Son. Jesus is the God-man. He is called Everlasting Father. He had no beginning and he had no end. When Jesus was born of a virgin, that was not his beginning. It was his incarnation. He is the designer of the entire universe. And then lastly, Jesus is called the Prince of Peace. We cannot have peace in our hearts apart from our relationship with Jesus Christ. He will give us this peace this Christmas if we put our trust and faith in him. So I thought that was nice. And I've seen where some people do like Advents of the different, like 25 names of Jesus and really study them every day. So that might be something you want to do with your family. So you want to dive into yesterday morning?
Absolutely.
What a day it was.
Great morning.
I feel like every Sunday just gets better at TyTy. And I wanted to say too, seeing our pastor get as passionate as he was yesterday morning, I think was really special because he really kind of not that he has guards up when he preaches, but I think it was even more so yesterday.
You really saw his heart.
Yeah, I thought so.
I don't know that I've ever heard a pastor as passionate about salvation as John.
Yeah.
And it's so evident in the way he preaches, what he brings to us.
Yeah, he actually got so emotional about it that he was
Yeah.
breaking out on the stage in tears.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he, of course, he did not tell us to say that, but no, it was.
Well, I'm saying that hits me when the pastor
Yeah.
gets that emotional about the message.
For sure. So yesterday he preached about Jesus, the one and only, and like Miss Margaret said, it was interesting how he started with the verses yesterday.
Yeah. When he mentioned it was from Revelation, I was really taken aback a bit, but he made perfect sense in the way that he unfolded what he wanted to say.
So he talked about Jesus' character, said he's faithful and true in righteousness. And it was kind of it made me really stop and think when he said, you're an enemy of Jesus if you haven't been forgiven. And to become a child of God. He said, oh, I loved this. I love John's like little one-offs because it helps me remember things.
Johnisms.
Johnisms. He said he's reliable in his business transactions. You know, he does what he says he's going to do. And he's the real deal. I thought that was great. His covenant, it says his robe is dipped in the blood of sinners. He does everything according to his word. And then, of course, his crown. He's coming back as a king. He first came as a lamb, but he's going to come back as a lion. So those are some of the things. I write a lot of notes. I'm a note taker during church. But was there anything big yesterday you took away from?
I think that you mentioned about his robe being dipped in the blood, and I think we oftentimes think of Christmas and the tiny baby, and he's meek and mild, and he's a baby, and we think of it as a gentle time, and his birth was anything but gentle. He was his mother had to ride a donkey, being close to giving birth. And any woman that's ever been there can get it. How uncomfortable a woman would be, and then having to travel and not finding a place to sleep.
And having to sleep out in the barn with the animals.
With animals, and the smell must have been horrendous. And trying to find a place to lay that tiny, delicate, brand new baby, and to give birth in such an open place. But when he comes back, I think that was something that was really important to me yesterday, is that he's coming back as a warrior. The robes that he will be wearing, it was mentioned in the scripture that he read yesterday. The blood on his robes were going to be the blood of those that were not saved. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle.
Also, I was going to say also the ones that just ignored him until he came.
Right. We don't want it to be too late.
Yeah, because he told a story about when he was about the alternative he had instead of going to prison.
Yeah.
And how the judge was all friendly, but as soon as someone messed up.
Yeah, I think his name was Ray, maybe.
Ray was the person that messed up.
Yeah.
And the judge was super serious, where everyone was like doubting what they did.
Yeah, and I think that he was kind of relating it back to how he lost that grace, I guess, once you kind of cross him.
When you didn't do what you promised to do, and you didn't fulfill what you were supposed to do. And our relationship with Christ is so important to maintain and to make sure that we are honoring him, and he knows everything we do.
Yeah.
And the judge obviously knew everything this young man was doing and not honoring his agreement. We watch that over and over and over in Scripture with Israel, with the Hebrew people, how they would dishonor God. He would have to show vengeance on them and try his wrath on them. But at the end, when Christ comes again, it's not going to be a time of gentleness. It's going to be the wrath it's the battle against Satan. And it's been won, and we know that, but we know it's going to be a time that is much needed, because he's promised.
That's right. Another one of his John-isms, he said, don't push God past his deadline. He said he's a God that's faithful to both forgive and condemn.
Right.
Again, goes back to he does what he says he's going to do.
Do what he said. Exactly.
And I thought, too, it made me really stop and think. He said there's a whole lot about Jesus that we don't know, because we can't know everything. There
His
are
higher
things.
is above. His thinking is so much
Yeah.
higher than what we can comprehend.
And he said, we don't serve an imaginary fairy tale Jesus. He's real. So I thought that was pretty powerful.
It was very powerful. I really loved, though, that he took it all the way back to the manger, past the cross, to the second coming.
Right.
Not just not the coming of the baby, not the resurrection, but all the way to the second coming, which which I'd never heard done in that way before.
Yeah.
Well, I think next week maybe about the resurrection, and then the last week could be the
Don't give it away
birthday.
now.
Well, I'm saying that's just my
Teaser.
that's my thought. I don't know actually what's
Oh, you
going to
gotta be there though. You gotta be there.
You gotta be there to find out for sure.
Yes. All right. Anything else about yesterday morning?
There's so much, I think, that we
And
got
more
it.
lives saved, which is amazing. Every time, I'm often up there doing the invitation, and when he says, I see your hand, I mean, it's just chills, because like, that's a life that has been changed. It's just amazing. And to see God continuously moving here every single week.
I feel like I'm watching people prepare their hearts more for the service. We've seen so many come to the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's just been amazing. I don't think I've ever been in a church where I've seen this many people come to the Lord, and knowing that, and you hear it. You may not see it, but you hear his words where I see your hand.
Yeah.
The grace that they're receiving because they've surrendered to Christ.
Yeah. And again, as someone
And
who's
also, how many I see your hands, that's about how many get saved when you hear that.
yeah. And as someone that was raised here, I mean, this church is so on fire right now. It's amazing to see just the growth and how lives are literally being changed. I just love that. It's amazing. So last night was another great night. We kind of already a little bit talked about the kids, but my favorite thing is to see the kids which costume that they picked. They are absolutely precious. I know Carly and Trey's little boy, the little donkey, and they said he wanted to be the donkey.
He wanted the donkey.
And JoJo with the little cow. I mean, they're precious.
Of course.
And the little halo that kept falling off last night.
She
was
bent
so
down to
cute.
put her candle down or bells, and
Yeah.
I was worried about those staffs.
Yeah.
Because they kept saying, boys, keep them on the ground.
I think they did good.
They
though.
did good.
I
They
didn't
didn't knock
notice.
anything over. And
I think we're blurry again, Nate.
Just
Okay.
going in and out, trying my best here.
A few people
No.
watching.
it's not just my eyes.
No, it's
Okay.
not.
I bet the cables are finicky too.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, that was so cute. And again, I think what you're doing with the kids, I hope you're being thanked, because it is a big deal
That's
to spend time with them and teach them in ways they can understand.
it. Amazes me how much they do know, and I think we've got young parents here that are doing a really good job. We'll talk about the songs that we sing, and they'll want to share. Always want to share
Oh, yeah.
about their thoughts on the different songs. And my mama said this, or my daddy said this, or my papa said this, and it's obvious that these kids are hearing this at home, and that is so important that they grow up hearing those things and seeing how it's done in their own home is a big part of it. But I love the collective that we're here for the children as well as the senior adults.
All the way.
And we're hitting them all.
Yeah.
We're hitting them all.
Well, this is your chance I know there's some kiddos in our church that haven't come yet on Sunday nights, so do you want to say anything
Oh boy,
to the parents?
we have a great time. It's not just a time of them sitting down and singing songs. They're doing motions, and they're jumping around, and they're learning to praise the mighty God over and over, and they love these songs. They absolutely insisted on that one, and that's why I ended up using my YouTube on my phone to play that particular song. But we are learning scripture, we are learning how to sing music, we're learning about rhythms, but most of all we're learning about Jesus. And we actually have a name. Did you know that?
No.
We're TyTy Jam.
Love
It's
that.
Jesus and me.
I love that.
So we
Need
actually
some
have a name.
t-shirts or
Yeah,
something.
I'd tell Taylor the same thing. She told me to hold my horses a little bit, but
Yeah.
but yeah, they it's an important time.
Vegas said, remember the dedication of the babies.
Oh gosh, that's right. Baby dedication.
Oh
We
gosh,
just
we
went
did.
right over
We
that.
sure
Thank
did.
you, Miss Betty.
Absolutely.
That was really precious too. And I was I know we normally do that around Mother's Day, so it's amazing to have that many babies in our
Well,
church.
I think there's supposed to be two more, but
Yeah.
one had
Yeah,
a
some
sibling
sickness.
or
Yeah.
cousin get born, and one was out sick.
More babies.
Yes, Miss Betty, thank you for that reminder. We just
Absolutely.
got caught up and
It was
other
a,
stuff.
it was a beautiful time to see those tiny little babies, but also there were some older siblings
Yeah.
that, just new families in the church that had not dedicated those babies yet. And like John said, it's not a baptism, or it's a parents making the commitment that they're gonna raise those children,
Yeah.
to
And
love
plant-
Jesus.
And plant the seed too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and he of course asked us as well as a church
Yeah.
to come alongside those parents and do our part. So it was kind of for us
Right.
as a church also.
We need to honor that.
Definitely. All right, so we'll quickly go over last night. I know you were in the back with
Right.
the kids.
We were playing reindeer games.
Yes, I went back there at the end and I could tell they were having fun. Last night's sermon, if you missed it, I'm sure it's on YouTube or Facebook Live, to go and watch. It was titled Dealing with the Devil. And it talked about how Satan is patient, and your battle isn't with anyone that you can see. He said, watch out for tactics of the devil, that he's vigilant. You know, he'll be there, especially when you're down. He'll be there to kind of come in and take over. But he talked about the attacks of Satan. He said his goal is to distance us and distract us from the mission of the church. He said Satan is walking, seeking, and devouring. He never wastes an opportunity to attack our lives. And one of the things he said, he talked a lot about hunting, which I can't relate to. My husband is not a hunter, and neither am I, but it did make sense. But he said demons watch us like hunters watch deer. You know, they're always kind of, looking out. And he said, we put out corn to tempt them to keep coming back. So he said, they're looking to devour, to kill, steal, and destroy. He talked about like National Geographic. We can watch that and see them stalking the prey. So yeah, he said he wants to devour us when we're at our lowest. We are to be sober. Don't be foolish. Be vigilant and resist. And he said put on the armor of God every day to set ourselves apart. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else. He said your sin will find you out. I know we've always heard that our whole lives. Don't dabble in temptations. Satan is at work to bring destruction, but God is also using Satan like a trainer. He mends us, he makes us stable, and he makes our soul strong. And it kind of goes back to music, because John then mentioned gratitude that we sang yesterday morning about, come on my soul, don't you get tired, and don't you get shy. So it's fun to me how music can always come back and be part of it.
There's so many songs, so much music, and it's across the board, whether it's hymns or contemporary music that uses scripture to be able to touch people's hearts, not just with the music, but with those lyrics that are so true. I mean, Satan's going to find that chink in our armor, and that's where he's going to attack. And we've got to be careful as a church not to allow it to bind us from within.
Yep.
There are times when I know I've been in churches where there's either criticisms or just murmurings, and how damaging that can be. And I think that we've all experienced that at some point, but I just feel such a unity here.
Yeah,
I feel such a unity.
I do too. So last but not least, he said this is Satan's nature and how we should be the opposite. He said he's a liar, so of course we shouldn't tell lies. He's a deceiver, so we should always tell the truth. He brings temptations. He uses suggestions. He makes things look good, so we should not share things that aren't true. And we should be cautious, and we should be founded and rooted on faith. And he said, we're not on a playground, we're in a war.
Golly.
So it was a good one last night. If you missed either service, I recommend going back and watching them. So it was
And
good.
if you can't find last night, we may have a recording of it, I'm not for sure.
I think it was on Facebook Live, maybe.
Well, I think the cameras are messed up, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Well, it was a good one, if you can find it. So I'm going to quickly go back over what's happening this week. Of course, Wednesday night supper, I think you still have time to get those in. It's hamburger steak, mashed potatoes with gravy, peas, roll, and dessert. And you can call the church office. Tomorrow is Joy Fellowship at 11 a.m. in the social hall. Bring a covered dish for that. On Wednesday, they will have caroling, and Thursday. You can go out and minister to homebound members. They will eat lunch afterwards, so meet at the church at 9:45 for that. Wednesday is the youth hangout, holiday hangout at First Baptist Tipton. The bus is going to leave at 6 for that, and they'll come back around 8:30. That should be a fun night. TyTy Kids will be visiting Cypress Pond Senior Care on Wednesday at 6 to sing Christmas songs and take blankets and cookies to the residents. I love that. That's so fun. So take your kids to Cypress Pond. Make sure you do that by 6 p.m. to join in the fun. And then join us on Saturday for the Soul Sisters Christmas party. All ladies are invited. You just bring an ornament to swap and a brunch food to share. And that's at the barn at Pope Farm at 10 a.m. until noon. And then again, Children's Church Choir will sing this Sunday in the morning service.
Sounds good.
It's a lot. There's a
It is
lot
a
going
lot.
on.
Be ready.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we covered everything. It was fun to have you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining me.
I appreciate it. It's a Christmassy kind of day, isn't it?
No, it is. Well, thank y'all for watching. We'll see who's on TyTy Takeaways next week. I'm not sure, but it'll be a fun time. And we'll see you this week at any of the events happening here.